topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Draw me close to you, never let me go, and lay it all down again, to hear you say that I'm a friend.
Good day. The Almighty Creator desires a deep personal relationship with you. My name is James Robertson. I'm a researcher, publisher, and teacher regarding the matters and truths of the Almighty Creator, whose true name is Yah, the eternally self-existing. I've been actively serving him since 1993, over 32 years. If you're not actively serving Yah, then by default you are serving Satan. My objective is to show you how you can make a big difference on earth and qualify for a position of high esteem in heaven for eternity. It's important to understand that as a believer, just being good is not the point. It's relationship with Yah that counts. Without this, you will be in a very unpleasant place in heaven with no way out. My aim is to show you how to get close to Father. If you're a good person without a clear relationship with Yah, then you're in a spiritual no man's land and you will not enter heaven when you die. The Creator said regarding unbelievers, why would I want someone to spend eternity with me when they do not believe I exist? Yah is calling everybody on the planet to be involved and serve him and help him to have victory over Satan. Fundamentally, we each need to learn to see things on earth from Yah's perspective. Please visit my website at www.endtimeissueministries.org or email me on james@endtimeissueministries.org. So today we're going to continue with part 2 of the miraculous planning of the death of Yahooshua. Yahooshua being the correct name for the man commonly known as Jesus. Overview. Yahooshua, meaning Yah is salvation, incorrectly called Jesus, died on a stake exactly over the Ark of the Covenant that had been hidden roughly 616 years earlier by YirmYahoo, incorrectly Jeremiah, in 589 BC, in a cave 20 feet below the execution site in solid rock. The earthquake as Yahooshua died split the rock from the stake hole to the top of the ark, so that when the soldier pierced the side of Yahooshua after he died, and water ran out all the way, blood and water ran out all the way down to the land on the mercy seat of the ark. This ushered in a new priesthood, a new covenant, and a new atoning sacrifice for sin. All told, a major miracle of pre-planning by the Almighty Creator with the full knowledge of Yahooshua. This broadcast discusses the details of this miracle in some detail. This follows on from part 1, which was broadcast last Friday, and if you haven't listened to that, it is on the website, it is on YouTube, it is on LinkedIn. I strongly encourage you to listen to it. If you go to the website, www.endtimeissueministries.org, near the top of the menu, you'll see a page called Broadcast, and you'll see a section there with the last week's broadcast there, and you can link on that to YouTube or on the website or wherever. So this is based on the article 2020.10.01, The Miraculous Planning of the Death of Yahooshua, Where, How, and What, and it was updated at that stage. So the next point I want to make is that the earthquake split the rock. As Yahooshua died, an earthquake split the rock mass through the stake hole where he was hanging, all the way down to the cave, and cracked the stone lid on the stone box in which the ark was hidden. Look at Psalm 22, 1 to 31, Mark 15, 33 to 41, Luke 23, 44 to 49, Yahooshua, John 19, 28 to 30. And so going here with Luke, now from the 6th hour there was darkness over all the land until the 9th hour. And about the 9th hour, Yahooshua cried in a loud voice, saying, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. That is to say, my El, why hast thou forsaken me? Some of them that stood there when they heard that said, this man is calling for Elias, Elijah, Elijah. And straightway one of them ran and took a sponge and filled it with vinegar and put it on a reed and gave him to drink. The rest said, let it be, let us see whether Elijah will come to save him. Yahshua, when he had cried again with a loud voice, yielded up the ghost. And behold, the veil of the temple was rent in twain from the top of the bottom, and the earth did quake, and the rocks rent. That's, Yahoo 27:45 to 51. Note that the correct translation of El, or Eli, commonly translated God, is my darling mighty one, or my beloved mighty one, or in the case of Yahooshua, my darling, demonstrating the depth of the relationship that existed between Yahooshua and Yah. So El is a Hebrew word that relates to a love relationship with Yah, my beloved. In general purposes, general translation, you would translate El as my beloved mighty one, Eli, my beloved mighty one. In the case of Yahshua, the depth of the relationship was so great that you could translate it as my darling mighty one, or my darling. And then Yahshua's side was pierced. After Yahshua died, a soldier pierced his side with a spear, so that blood and water flowed down the stake, down the earthquake crack, and onto the mercy seat formed by the lid of the Ark of the Covenant. Yahooshua 19:34. But one of the soldiers with a spear pierced his side, and forthwith came there out blood and water. The key thing here is that blood reached the mercy seat. Folks, this is what I'm sharing with you here is known to very few people. I had the privilege way back in 1999 of coming across the teachings of Jonathan Gray and then subsequently Ron Wyatt and their videos proving the locating of the Ark of the Covenant. And it's on the web, internet, but not many people are aware of it. So this is really important stuff. And you can't understand what Yahooshua accomplished unless you understand what we're talking about now. So broken heart. Yahshua died of a broken heart at losing the presence of Father. So all the blood in his heart was released, and water was released. And this was necessary for sufficient volume of blood and water to run all the way down the crack. I've quoted an article before that. The article is on the website. You can see the pictures there. And this was independently verified by Ron Wyatt and Jonathan Gray. So, picture. Yahshua has walked with Yah from the beginning of creation. Comes to earth. He's beaten, tortured, dies a terrible death, hangs on the stake for 9 hours. But he's so anointed that he can't die. And so Yah takes his spirit from him. And Yahshua feels that go. And he says, my darling, why have you forsaken me? And he dies of a broken heart for you and for me. Think about it. Think about it. Think about it. And then only the female chromosomes The blood discovered on the mercy seat by Ron White was taken to a laboratory, and it only contained one set of chromosomes, the female set, proving that Yeshua was born without a father, plus one male chromosome element for the male gender. So the X and the Y chromosomes, and I don't remember all the finer details there. But the key thing to realize is that Yeshua was conceived in a completely ordinary conception, with one exception: there was no male seed. The Spirit of Yah moved on an egg in Mary's fallopian tube and caused it to be fertilized. The miracle is not nearly as dramatic as the miracle of Chava, Eve, from the rib of Adam, and it's even less dramatic than the creation of Adam and Lilith from the dust of the earth. Who's Lilith? Lilith is Adam's first wife, created with him. She ran away after Satan very quickly and was rejected by Yah and by Adam, and so Yah had to start again with a woman. Just the beginning of human beings letting Yah down. And then not a single sin. Remember that Yahooshua lived and died without committing a single sin. This is one of the three miracles of Yeshua. It's important to note that he was mocked, beaten, falsely accused, and tortured, and yet he did not sin. That's a remarkable exercise of his will and self-restraint, and certainly qualifies him to be King of all human kings and Lord of all human lords, and seated on the highest throne in heaven as the most powerful created being in all of heaven. There's a lot of gobbledygook spoken about Yeshua. The big thing, in my opinion, the biggest thing, is what I've just spoken about. Yeshua lived for 32 and a half years, or 33 and a half years, I can't remember. And he didn't sin once. And because of that, when he died, Hades had no place for him, death had no place for him, he was instantly resurrected. And because he had conquered sin, he qualified for the highest throne. He was the first human being to live without sin ever since Adam, including Adam. So the thing to remember here is that before he was betrayed, Yeshua said, because I go to my Father, you will do greater works than I did. And one of the works that he did was to live without sin. So the message for you, the learning for me, which I had in 2001, is that it is possible to live without sin. Sin defined as breaking any one of the 10 commandments and certain other ancillary jurisprudence around that. Not refusing to wear a kefir or all these other things that people get violent and angry about. Simple. 10 commandments, keep them scrupulously. No sin, you can sit on a high throne too. Then the veil in the temple was rent as Yahooshua died. Remember Mark 15:37-38. And Yahooshua cried with a loud voice and gave up the ghost. And the veil of the temple was rent in twain from the top to the bottom. This revealed that there was nothing in the temple, as the Ark of the Covenant and all the temple furniture were in the cave 20 feet under the stake on which Yahooshua was hanging. This also signified that there was now a new high priest and a new priesthood, and we no longer required a human priest to officiate on our behalf, because Yahooshua had died so that he became high priest and we might officiate on our own behalf. Folks, this is a 2 verses, or in fact just the 1 verse. The veil of the temple was rent in twain from the top to the bottom. that is really underrated. What that did was it proved that the high priest was fraudulent. He had no authority because the blood of the offering for the high priest needed to be sprinkled on the mercy seat, and the mercy seat had been missing for nearly 600 years. So for nearly 600 years, the priesthood was illegitimate. And for that same period of time, there was no way to offer for atonement, because the offering of atonement, again, the blood needed to be sprinkled on the mercy seat. So for 600 years, or nearly 600 years, the Jews were without a high priest, a legitimate high priest, and without a legitimate offering for repentance of sin, for atonement. And then there's another dimension. The people who called for Yeshua's death were what are today called Torah keepers. They observed the 5 books, which you would know as Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Deuteronomy, and Numbers. They have other Hebrew names which are more accurate, which I don't have at my fingertips. And that whole thing was abolished. Yeshua introduced a new covenant. And if you are one of these people who's hanging on to Torah today is the 10 Commandments, nothing more, nothing less. And then filled with the Spirit of Yah. It's important to note that Yahooshua was filled with the Spirit of Yah when Yahuchanan immersed him. That's John incorrectly. Immersed him, and it was the Spirit of Yah in and on Yeshua, the anointing, incorrectly Christ, that performed the miracles and spoke through Yahushua. So it was Yah, not Yahushua, who performed the miracles. And Yahushua, when he was baptized, went up straightway out of the water. And lo, the heavens were opened unto him, and he saw the Spirit of the Almighty descending like a dove and lighting upon him. Mighty Yahoo 3:16. Folks, if you purport to be a believer and you're not filled with the Spirit of Yah, you're playing in the D team. We were created to be filled with the Spirit of Yah. There's a place in our spirit for the Spirit of Yah to dwell in us. If you are not filled with the Spirit of Yah, you're not sure, pray right now, Father, in the name of Yeshua, I ask you to fill me with the Spirit of Yah to overflowing. And keep praying that, keep claiming it. Listen to and sing along with worship songs. There's about 70 on the website. And especially the ones that talk about being filled with the Spirit. You can be filled with the Spirit like Yeshua was. You can perform miracles like he did. Don't let anybody tell you differently. And then Yeshua was instantly resurrected. When he died, he left his body and he was instantly resurrected into heaven because he had no sin, and therefore death had no hold on him. This immediately qualified him as the firstborn from the dead and qualified him for the highest throne in heaven, the most glorious supernatural body, and the most powerful position closest to Father Yah. There's no mystique, there's no magic. It's all strictly legal and above board. He didn't float around for 3 days in whatever. He just took 3 days to manifest in order to fulfill a prophecy, a foretelling. But the minute he left his body, he arrived at death, and death said, sorry, you can't come in here. I have no place for you. You have never sinned. And he went straight to heaven. How do I know? Father told me. But it's important to understand. If you die without sin, you too will go straight to heaven. And you won't go to hell to pay the price of your unrepented sin. Then the Lamb of Yah. It's important to remember that when he immersed Yahushua Yahuchanan proclaimed Yahooshua to be the Lamb of Yah. Remember that Yahuchanan was a member of the priesthood by descent. He was the son of a priest. So he had authority to do this. So the verse says, the next day Yahuchanan, seeing Yahushua coming unto him, saith, Behold the Lamb of Yah, which taketh away the sin of the world. This made Yahushua the Lamb of the offering provided by Yah. This was necessary in order for Yahushua to fulfill the procedures laid down by Moses, in order to be the perfect Lamb of the offering and induct a new priesthood, a new covenant, and a new atoning sacrifice for sin. Words are extremely powerful. Yeshua said, you will be judged by every word that you speak. So here we have Yeshua and Yahuchanan, incorrectly John the Baptist, Yahuchanan the Immerser, proclaims, Behold the Lamb of Yah. He makes a prophetic assignment of Yeshua as the Lamb of Yah. 3.5 years later, Yahushua is offered up as the spotless Lamb of Yah as an offering on the stake. And he dies, and his blood falls, runs down the stake through the earthquake crack onto the Ark of the Covenant. And a new covenant is instituted, a new priesthood is instituted, and a new atoning sacrifice for sin is instituted. But all of it happened by direct fulfillment of the commandments and instructions of Moses back in Exodus. So he was the Lamb of the offering. The night he was betrayed, Yeshua proclaimed that the bread and wine were an acceptable proxy for his flesh and blood, and therefore for believers everywhere to receive forgiveness for sin. Matthew 26:26-28. And as they were eating, Yahushua took bread and blessed it and brake it and gave it to those who followed him. He said, Take, eat, this is my body. And he took the cup and gave thanks and gave it to them, saying, Drink ye all of this. For this is my blood of the new covenant, which is shed for many for the remission of sins. So another prophetic assignment. Yeshua says, my body is the body, and my blood are the body and blood of the perfect sacrifice. I assign that body and that blood to the bread and the wine. So to those who follow me and believe, you can partake of the new covenant, of the new atoning offering for sin, simply by taking a piece of bread, preferably unleavened, and saying, I recall that on the night that he was betrayed, Yeshua took the bread and broke it and gave it to those who followed him, said, Take, eat, this is my body given for you and for many. And then he took the cup with the grape juice or red wine, red grape juice, red wine. This is my blood of the new covenant, shed for you and for many for forgiveness of sin. Do this as oft as ye shall drink it in remembrance of me. And so suddenly, through his agony and his sacrifice, all you need to do to deal with sin is get on your knees with Father and say, Father, I've sinned. Please forgive me. And then take the bread and the wine and say, by virtue of this cup and the offering of Yeshua, I receive forgiveness and cleansing of my sin. It's that simple, it's that powerful, it's that beautiful. So this prepared the way for Yeshua to become the atoning offering for sin the following day, and for us to have access to that offering through bread and wine. This is an absolutely critical element of the spiritual legalities related to the ministry of Yahushua. This allows you to officiate for your own release from sin at any time, whenever necessary, with no requirement for an intermediary priest or similar, remembering that Yahushua is your high priest, and he is there. He's perfect. He's without sin. So he's always in authority. I did a message just before this to a good friend and brother. I said, it seems to me you don't have a full revelation of your authority as a believer. Yeshua conquered sin by living free of sin, conquered death, conquered the forces of the satanic and demonic forces. And then he delegated that authority to us. You can speak to any demon if you're free of sin and have a revelation of the authority and simply say, I speak to this demon of pride or whatever else it is. Once you've repented of your sin, once you've dealt with your sin, or the person you're ministering to, in the name of Yahooshua, I bind you, I command you, I tear you down, I command you to leave now and go where Father Yah sends you. Father, I thank you that you send your mighty warring messengers to bind, tear down, cast out, and send where you want to go, the spirits that I've named. And they've got to go. They don't have a choice. There are Yah's messengers, Yah's angels, who will enforce that and take them and send them where Yah wants them to go. You don't tell them where to go. You tell them to go where Yah wants them to go. And then Yeshua was born of a virgin, so there are no bloodline curses. Because he was born of a pure, that is sinless and free of demons and curses, virgin, Yahshua did not inherit bloodline curses, which would have happened with a human father. Now, it's important to understand that Miriam was probably about 13 years old at the time of this. It was commonplace in those days for women to marry at the age of when they came into puberty. And they were groomed accordingly, and they were much more mature and what have you than the girls of 14 today. But she was sinless, free of demons, free of curses. So Yeshua was born free of curses, free of demons. If there'd been a human man involved, it would have been not been possible for Yeshua to live free of sin, because he would have been born of a sinful man and with bloodline curses and demons and all sorts of nonsense. Miriam was pure, sinless at that stage as a 13 or 14-year-old young woman. And he inherited that through the virgin birth. So this stuff that Yah begat Yeshua and God had sex with Mary, and I'm not going to comment. Then important to understand that Judas Iscariot, Yehuda from Kerioth, did Yah's will. In all of this, it is vital to understand that Yehuda from Kerioth, Judas Iscariot, was led by Yah to betray Yahushua. And one of the 12, called Yehuda from Kerioth, went unto the chief priests and said unto them, What will you give me, and I will deliver him unto you? And they covenanted with him for 30 pieces of silver. And from that time he sought opportunity to betray him. Matthew 26:14-16. Note also that, filled with remorse, Yehuda of Kerioth subsequently killed himself. Matthew 27:3-5. Then Yehuda, which had betrayed him, when he saw that he was condemned, repented himself and brought again the 30 pieces of silver to the chief priests and elders, saying, I have sinned in that I have betrayed the innocent blood. And they said, What is that to us? See thou to that. And he cast down the pieces of silver in the temple and departed and went and hanged himself. So 2 pieces here. One, in some way, Yah instigated for Yehuda to do what he did. And for those of you who've got an attitude about Yehuda, he repented, he was forgiven. Yeshua hung on the stake and he said, Father, forgive them, they don't know what they're doing. So both because he repented and because Yahooshua forgave him, you're going to find Judas, in heaven, which may be a big shock to you. Note further that Yahooshua forgave all who dealt wrongly with him, the high priests and everybody else. Luke 23:33-34. And when they were come to the place which is called Calvary, there they impaled him, and the malefactors, one to the right hand and the other on the left. Then saith Yahooshua, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. So as I've just said, on the score, you can be confident that Yehuda of Kerioth was forgiven and therefore in all likelihood is in heaven today. Folks, keep in mind that since Yeshua forgave those people who treated him so badly, it's not a big thing for Yah to expect you to forgive those who've treated you badly. And then notice that Yeshua provoked his death. It's vital to recognize that Yeshua provoked his death. He repeatedly got in the face of the high priests, the scribes, and the Pharisees, calling them whitewashed walls, overturning the tables of the money changers in the temple court, breaking their man-made laws, etc. It's vital to understand that Yahooshua did this entirely deliberately in order to provoke them to kill him. And the key point there, folks, is as a believer, do not take the verses where you see Yeshua speaking harshly to the scribes and the Pharisees and the high priests and what have you, and think that somehow that's part of the job of being a believer. No. Yeshua came with one objective, to die on that stake, at that location, in that manner, so that his blood would fall on the mercy seat to introduce a new covenant, a new atoning sacrifice, a new priesthood. Don't you try that at home. And then Yeshua exercised iron will and self-discipline, and we're expected to do the same. Yeshua exercised iron will and self-discipline to go through what he went through and to die the way he did. He and Yah expect the same from us who claim to follow his example. Note that the Bible calls us disciples, which has the same root as discipline. Disciple is a disciplined one who is disciplined in following Yeshua's example. And then the high priest proclaimed Yahushua as priest. It's also important to recognize that Yeshua became the new high priest because the existing high priest proclaimed him priest when he mocked him and beat him as Messiah, the one they expected to come and redeem Israel. The whole story of Yeshua leading up to Yeshua's death is so very specific from a spiritual legal point of view. And as much as you may choke on it, it's really important to recognize that it was appointed for these things to happen. Not necessarily the finer detail, but it was appointed for the high priests and the scribes and the Pharisees to cry for Yeshua's death. It was appointed for them to proclaim him the Messiah, the Anointed One. And then Pilate proclaimed Yeshua King of the Yehudites. It's also important to recognize that Yeshua became the King of the Yehudites, the King of the Jews, because Pilate proclaimed him the King of the Yehudites. And we're looking at Yehuchanan, John 19:19-22. And Pilate wrote a title and put it above the stake, and the writing was Yahushua of Nazareth, the King of the Yehudites. And he did it in Hebrew, Greek, and Latin. This title then read many of the Yehudites, for the place where Yahushua was crucified was nigh to the city and was written in Hebrew and Greek and Latin. And said the chief priests of the Yehudites to Pilate, write not the King of the Yehudites, but that he said, I am the King. He said, I am the King of the Yehudites. Pilate answered, "What I have written, I have written." And on the website, you'll find a copy of a letter that Pilate wrote to Caesar in Rome, talking about Yeshua and the death of Yeshua. It's very informative, and I strongly encourage you to go and find it and read it. I found it most worthwhile. And then the people made Yahooshua the offering for sin. Also, the people made Yahooshua the offering for sin. When Pilate, so we're looking at Yahoo 27, 24 to 26. When Pilate saw that he could prevail nothing, but that rather a tumult was made, he took water and washed his hands before the multitude, saying, "I'm innocent of the blood of this just person, see ye to it." Then answered all the people and said, "His blood be on us and on our children." Then released he Barabbas unto them, and when he had scourged Yahooshua, he delivered him to be impaled. Notice that Pilate proclaims Yahshua to be free of sin, necessary for him to be the sinless lamb of the offering. People proclaim that Yahshua's blood is upon them and upon their children. This was necessary for an atoning sacrifice to be made. And if you go and look, I think it's in Leviticus, what you will find is that when the blood sacrifice was instituted on the Day of Atonement by Moses, the high priests took some of the blood of the lamb and sprinkled it on the mercy seat of the Ark of the Covenant. And so when Yeshua died, his blood was sprinkled on the Ark of the Covenant. That was needed for an offering for atonement. And because he was free of sin, it was an offering once and forever, accessible to us through the bread and the wine. Likewise, when a high priest was instituted, the blood was sprinkled on the mercy seat, so Yeshua became the new high priest. And to institute a new covenant, likewise, blood on the mercy seat. If you don't understand what I've just said, you are at a serious disadvantage in your relationship with Yah, your understanding of Yahushua, your understanding of what he did, how he did it. And I encourage you to meditate on what I'm talking about today. Listen to last week's broadcast if you haven't. Maybe listen to it again. This is really, really important, folks. So here we go, Leviticus 16, 15, Leviticus chapter 16, 15 to 19. Then shall he kill the goat of the sin offering that is for the people and bring his blood within the veil. Within the veil, notice that. And do with that blood as he did with the blood of the bullock, and sprinkle it upon the mercy seat. And before the mercy seat. And he shall make an atonement for the set apart, incorrectly, holy place, because of the uncleanness of the children of Israel, and because of their transgressions in all their sins. And so shall he do for the tabernacle of the congregation that remaineth among them in the midst of their uncleanness. And there shall be no man in the tabernacle of the congregation when he goes in to make an atonement in the set apart place, till he comes out and have made an atonement for himself, for his household, and for all the congregation of Israel. And he shall go out unto the altar that is before Yah, the eternally self-existing, and make an atonement for it, and shall take of the blood of the bullock and of the blood of the goat, and put it upon the horns of the altar round and about. And he shall sprinkle of the blood upon it with his finger 7 times, and cleanse it, and hallow it from the uncleanness of the children of Israel. So, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but it was a hangover palaver. You had to have a tabernacle or a temple. You had to have a sanctified high priest. You needed to have a veil. You needed to have an Ark of the Covenant. It was a whole mission to get forgiveness from sin. And then Yeshua comes along, defeats death, defeats sin, and says, here, have a glass of wine. And while you're doing that, receive forgiveness through my offering. It's amazing, folks. I hope you're getting what I'm saying. And then the people made Yahooshua the scapegoat for atonement. So in Leviticus 16, verses 20-22, and when he hath made an end of reconciling the set-apart place in the tabernacle of the congregation and the altar, he shall bring the live goat, and Aaron shall lay both his hands on the head of the live goat, and confess over him all the iniquities of the children of Israel, and all their transgressions and all their sins, putting them upon the head of the goat, and then shall send him away by the hand of a fit man into the wilderness. And the goat shall bear upon him all their iniquities unto a land not inhabited, and he shall let go the goat in the wilderness. And the high priest and the people did this with Yeshua when they beat him, thereby laying hands on him, and then took him to Golgotha, which was outside the city wall. Picture it, folks. They're beating him, and in the act of beating him, they are prophetically fulfilling this instruction in Leviticus. There's no magic about what Yeshua did. It's hard, brutal, legal, spiritual reality. So I encourage you, there's about another page or 2 pages of this article that I haven't covered here. It's not enough time. And go to the website, top right, little 3 dots, find on page, search on page, depends which browser you're using, and just type in miracle, and it'll jump down to the article, The Miracle of Yeshua's Death, and go and read it. You'll see the pictures, etc. there. So I want to ask you, what is the state of your relationship with the Almighty Creator? I'd like to ask you to critically examine where you are relative to Him today. Do you talk to Him constantly throughout the day and allow Him to lead you in every possible way? Do you worship Him at every opportunity? Have you clearly and unambiguously heard Him call you friend? If not, you're failing in your life purpose, and you will be bitterly disappointed when you die. If you've now come to belief, please pray along the following lines. Father Yah, I come to you in the name of Yahushua, and I believe that you exist. I confess my sin of unbelief and repent of my unbelief, and I ask you to forgive my sin. I now commit my life to you, and I ask you to take me by the hand and lead me into deep relationship with you. I ask you to fill me with your spirit and to change me and help me to become the person you want me to become. I ask you to help me find people who can help me, and help me find books, websites, articles, and other resources that will help me. I ask you to show me what I can do to actively serve you and lead others to deep personal relationship with you. I thank you for saving me. There's a period of 8 days from sincerely coming to belief for the first time, during which there is extreme grace, Chen, to help you. See the article, Critical Actions on First Belief, for actions you should take immediately, on the website. Drop me an email at james@endtimemissionministries.org so I can help you, pray with you, pray for you, counsel you, etc. And by the way, if you haven't ever prayed a prayer like I've just recited, and you've been a believer for some time, there's no harm in you taking that basic formula, adapting it to the fact that you are already a believer, and asking for those same things as far as possible. So in closing, thank you for listening. Please send me your questions to james@endtimeissueministries.org. Please email me to join the mailing list at james@endtimeissueministries.org. If you decide to draw close to the Almighty, please let me know, and I will connect with you by Zoom, Teams, email, LinkedIn, Facebook, WhatsApp, or telephone so that I can help you with your journey. I hope to connect with you again next week, when I will continue to explore how to become a friend of the Creator. Work with me to make a way for Yeshua to return in victory at the end of the millennium and make his enemies his footstool. Folks, the only reason we exist, the only reason the entire universe exists, is because Yah was lonely and he wanted friends. And today, almost nobody understands that. Nobody hears him. I urge you, it doesn't matter who you are, what you're doing, what your sin is. Turn to him today and say, Father Yah, I desire to become your friend. Help me to get there. And then email me, and I will be absolutely delighted to help you. That's what I live for. That's my mission. That's the whole reason that I keep going. Please. Doesn't matter if you're a Satanist. Doesn't matter what religion you are. Doesn't matter what nation you are, what tribe you are, what denomination you are, whatever you are. He will meet you wherever you are right now, and he will help you to get closer, and I will help you to get closer until you get to a place where you can hear him and have a conversation with him and involve him in every area of your life. So for those of you who've been on this channel for a while, I'm going to say good night. Have a great weekend and a great week. And for those of you who've only just joined the last week or two, please hang on. I've got something I want to share with you. In closing, who am I? James Robertson. I have a doctorate in engineering, and I'm a retired military commander. I now work as a management consultant. I have over 32 years' experience of actively seeking to draw close to the Almighty, following a dramatic encounter with him on the 12th of March, 1993, when he spoke to me audibly in a locked room, and I knew for certain that he was real. In learning about Father, I applied my deep-seated aversion to failure, born out of an accident in early childhood, coupled to my engineering and military training of rigor and preventing failure, to my seeking of knowledge about Father. This journey led to numerous supernatural experiences, prayers answered, and clear communication with the Creator. It forms the basis for what I teach in these programs. See the video, Why Seek Relationship, for an overview of what I believe. Please visit my website at www.endtimeissueministries.org. ETI version of the Bible with corrections of translation errors is on the ETI Bible version page. Recordings of nearly all of the teachings broadcast so far, go to www.relationshipwithcreatorradio.com or search on Google for Relationship with Creator Radio. Transcripts are on the Transcripts for Broadcasts page. Books with teachings from 1998 till May 2019 on the Books for Printing page. I publish regular email articles. Email me on james@endtimeissueministries.org to be added to the list or to seek counsel or prayer or give me feedback. Visit the website and use the article keyword cloud, table of contents, article search, and Google search to locate the information you're looking for. Folks, that's it. I'm out of time. So I'm going to say good night. Go well. Have a great weekend and a great week. And turn to Yah. He wants you to become his friend. I want to help you become his friend. So go well. Good night.
Father, I come to you, lifting up my hands. By your grace I stand, just because you love me. I know your favor.
Are you aware of the miraculous planning of the death of Yahooshua, incorrectly called Jesus? If not, please listen to my broadcast on w4cy.com internet radio or talk4tv.com internet TV. My name is Dr. James Robertson, and I've been walking closely with the Almighty Creator since March 1993. Visit my website at www.endtimeissueministries.org for a lot of information about the matters of the Almighty. For back issues of broadcast, visit www.relationshipwithcreatorradio.com or email me on james@endtimeissueministries.org to find out more. I look forward to hearing from you. Have a great day.